Hi, I'm Mindy. Welcome to my channel. I'm just going to do a very quick tutorial today to show you two easy ways, and they are easy ways, to create faux grass cloth or linen. So we know that grass cloth is a covering that's made with natural materials. Most often it's woven. Some of the traditional looks of grass cloth may be like thicker strands of grass that run horizontally. Normally when you see grass cloth wallpaper on the wall, it's I believe a 36-inch roll that it's put on, so you see a seam each time. So to do it with a wall covering like plaster, you eliminate those seams, and so it's just kind of a fun alternative to true grass cloth. And again, oftentimes, depending on which technique I use, I often refer to it as linen. Okay, and this is why. So these are the two techniques I'm going to show you today. This is the one that I call linen, but I also refer to it as grass cloth. Okay, this is more of a traditional grass cloth. Okay, so these use two different tools, and I'm going to show you how. You're going to be surprised how easy this is. Okay, let's get at it. So there are two tools I'm going to show you. So to do this more of a linen pattern, okay, so it's just a very simple but tight weave. I use this, it's called a corduroy tool. It's also known as a turf tool. You can see why. It's like AstroTurf. And actually, I have several of these, but when I first started in this business, I was like, I can make one of those. And I did. I made some, and I bought some, area or rugs that, you put by your back door, and they cost a couple dollars, and I cut them up and I glued them onto some blank rectangular trowels. And, I ended up not even using them. This is kind of just the way to go. I think this cost somewhere between $20 and $25. It's very lightweight. The handle's at the right angle. It's just ready to go. And the square works really well for me. A rectangle did not work very well for me. And you'll probably figure out why as you see me working with it. Okay, so corduroy tool, or also known as a turf tool. And I'll link my friend Mave, who I buy many of my supplies from. I'll attach a link in the description that you could get a hold of her to get products. She carries just about everything, okay? But you can buy these, you can buy products, all different kinds of plasters and all kinds of really fun stuff. So anyway, I'll put that in the description. So that's a corduroy tool. This is more of a, can you see that, like a traditional, what I think of as traditional horizontal grass cloth. Okay, for that, I use this, and it's called the WAVERLY tool. Okay, and it probably has another name too. So this is, I have a few of these too. This one's made in Italy. It's called a WAVERLY, but again, you probably can find it under different manufacturers, okay? So it's just really a piece of plastic with a handle with waves on it, okay? So these are the two tools you would absolutely need. Beyond that, I'm gonna show you, when you make a sample board, which I always recommend you do if you're going to try this in your home. Okay, get a piece of poster board or something to make a sample, so you're not going at your wall without knowing what the final. You don't want any surprises. Okay, so I make lots of samples because I do this for a business. So I'm reusing a sample from another project. Okay, so this is metallic plaster that's just troweled on. I'm just going to paint over it. Okay, I'm just going to paint over it with navy blue paint. This one's called Anchors Away. But the thing is whatever you're going to do, put a base coat on in regular paint before you do this. Okay, so you don't want to get your plaster mixed to whatever. And by the way, these plasters can be mixed to any color, which is much different than Grasscloth. Those are all natural colors because it's a natural product. So kind of fun that you can make it kind of more fantastical by choosing any color that works for your decor. So, and I know probably if you've seen my other videos, this one is done with metallic plaster. This one is done with acrylic Venetian plaster. So, you're not just tied to one product, okay? You don't have to use metallic plaster. You could use any kind of coating that has some body to it, okay? You're not tied into having a shimmer on it. If you want something that's very matte, there are products that are very matte, like acrylic Venetian plaster, which you can find in a big box store. It can be tinted to any color, and when that dries out, it's very matte. So there's a whole huge gamut of different looks you can get, but I want to try to stay very basic and just show you the technique today, okay? Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to roll on a coat of this navy blue on here. So, and it probably is going to take 2 passes. Navy blue is hard to cover. I'm going to put 2 passes on, and then I'll be back. Okay, so I have actually 3 coats of blue on. Navy blue is a very hard color to cover, as is yellow and orange and red. Okay, so I'm going to show you another thing. On one of my videos, you may have seen that behind this grass cloth finish, you could do a design, and I'll just kind of show you. This is what I use for that. Grout line stencil tape. It's a 1/4 inch. Okay. So I'm just going to kind of show you this as a side note, how I did that, if you saw that in the other video. So I took tape, and I actually made arcs and, all kinds of fun designs. But for this, I'm going to use it just to separate the 2 sides. Okay. All right, because I like that 1/4 inch. You could use, you could use 1 inch. You could use, 3/4 of an inch. But I like this 1/4 inch tape for this. And then I'm going to use some paper tape just to give myself a little room, because I'm only going to be working on this right side for now. Okay. So what I'm going to use is some pre-mixed. So this is Venetian, or this is acrylic plaster, okay? It's water-based, so there's water cleanup. This is a product called Moire. There are lots of products, as I told you before, that you could use, but this is a metallic acrylic texture, let's call it, okay? I get this from the Plaster Center in Minneapolis. There are lots of, like I said, lots of products that you can use, as long as it has enough body. But I'm going to use this particular product that's already mixed to a dark blue that's just slightly lighter than this background color, okay? And I'm going to just use the same color for both sides, just so you can really compare the 2 different techniques. So, I used to, when I would do walls, I would apply this with the trowel, but I've been doing this process so often on big walls that I just decided to start using, I have a second person, and we roll the texture on first, okay? So, all right, so I'm gonna roll this on. Oh, you can see why I put the second piece of tape here, right? Okay, so if you have one person rolling, and you don't want to put it on too thin. So when it comes to coverage, you're going to want to, that's why you may want to work with somebody who's in the industry and buy it from them. So you can talk about how big your wall is, how much product you need. I think for this one, I think it's 150 to 200 square feet per gallon, and that's 2 passes. So when we say passes, it's just, another word for 2 coats, okay? So now that's on there, and it's on there pretty heavy. You want it more heavy than, err on the side of heavy, okay? So now I'm gonna take my corduroy tool, and I'm just gonna go up and down. Okay, that's it. We're gonna let this dry, and you could have the stria be your final finish. I've done walls that are gorgeous with just this, okay? Not with a cross hatching, but just this. But I would recommend that you do 2 passes, because once it dries, it looks a little bit skimpy or thready. So I would recommend that you do 2 passes. Always at least 2 passes with full finishing. Rarely can I get away with 1 pass, okay? So I'm gonna let this dry, and then I'm gonna put on, so this is the vertical. I'm gonna let that dry, and then I'm gonna put a horizontal pass on. When I do walls and I do this particular technique, couple tricks. I always go vertically first. Sometimes I'll have on the wall, I'll have a laser level, or I'll drop, you know, maybe with like really like a chalk pencil or something. We make plumb lines, because you don't, you know, especially if you don't have like trim close by that you can gauge off of, so you keep your lines straight up and down. If it's a big long expansive wall, you want to make sure that you're not starting to do this, because it's very easy for that to happen, especially if the wall is really tall. Like the more space you have, the riskier it is that you're going to get off kilter. Because our arms over here, they're going to arc a little bit, okay? And so naturally, you know, you think you're going straight, and then you stand back and the whole thing is shifted a little bit. So get your plumb lines. There's lots of different ways you can do that. Like I said, we use laser levels, but you know, just to stay on track to keep it plumb. Okay, so we're gonna let this dry, and then I'll be back. Quickly, I almost forgot to say, one other trick is, so when you're gonna do something like this, you tape off all of the woodwork, you tape off the ceiling, so you get it all masked, because it's a messy deal, right? You want to be able to move freely without it worrying about it hitting the ceiling or getting on the woodwork. So go ahead and use tape. You can buy Easy Mask. I have this machine, the 3M machine, that puts the tape with 3-inch paper, and that works really well for me. But you could buy much wider tape. Just give yourself, you know, a border that you can work freely. Okay. The other thing that I've found after years of doing this is, okay, so I usually work in an area that's maybe a couple feet wide on the wall, okay? So like a pass that goes all the way down the wall. So because of this is vertical, we'll do like a 2 or maybe up to a 3-inch pass down the wall, okay? Then we'll go do the next pass down the wall. And if you keep this wet edge and you keep it straight up and down, you won't develop seams at all. But the trick I wanted to tell you is, so if you have someone rolling a pass, a 2 or 2.5, 3 foot pass down the wall, okay, then it's time to use your tool. Start at the bottom of the wall, okay? Let's say this is woodwork down here where my arm is, okay? You might have to flick upwards just a bit like this to get it started, then do this. Okay, then move up and do this. Because as you feather down, it's going to naturally just keep feathering. If you start at the top, you're always going to have a chop mark that you're always going to have to try to correct. So I don't know the physics or whatever, but just trust me. You want to start at the bottom and work up. Then put another pass of product, start at the bottom and work up. Okay. Each product is going to dry differently. This one tends to dry pretty fast. There are some products you can add to it to give it to keep it wetter longer or more open time. I use professional grade products, but you could use like a little bit of Floetrol, which you can get in the paint department of just about any paint store or box store. It's like a conditioner. You can put a little bit of that in there. It'll give you a little bit more time to work with it. So once you have this pass done, you start the next one. Ideally, you want this to be wet too, so you can kind of blend those two seams together, because ideally you want it to be a uniform finish, right? Unless you want it to look like true grass cloth, which does have seams, okay? Most rolls are 36 inches. I'm sure that there's probably ones that they make bigger commercially, but let's just say a 36-inch pass. You could tape off a 36-inch drop, do that whole thing, like tape, go and tape off another 36, skip that next pass, okay? And go to the next one and do it again. Then so you're gonna have like stripes, candy stripes. Let them dry, then come back, flip your tape over and fill in. And then you will have seams that will mimic true grass cloth. So I've asked people in my industry, what do you think? Would you prefer to see the seams or not? And it's about half and half, and people feel really strongly about it. So I think it's just gonna be up to you. So far to date, I have never deliberately made the seams, and I probably would only consider it if I was really going for a believable natural color. You know, a dark blue isn't going to be, you know, a natural grass cloth. Although I don't know, maybe they can tint the grasses. I don't know. But anyway, I hope you're following what I'm trying to say. Okay, I'll be back. Okay, this first pass is almost dry. I just wanted to show you what one pass looks like, okay? I prefer two passes, but you know, if this is the way you like it, it's just kind of thin and reedy. I don't know if that's the right word, but you see what I'm saying. Two passes will give you better coverage with your second product. Okay, first pass is dry. Now again, if you wanted to just do a corduroy or a stria, you just put another pass of plaster on here, or metallic texture, whatever you're using, and then you do the same thing, okay? Then you let it dry, and then it's done. But we are going to do a linen effect, okay? So I'm gonna roll another pass on. Okay. Find my tool. Okay, I just put this in a plastic bag to keep the plaster from drying, okay? All right, so now I'm gonna do the horizontal movement. You know, I think it's harder to do this on a tabletop than it is to do on a wall, because you want to keep it, you know, like right kind of in front of your chest, and then you can get a pretty straight line and kind of, you know, kneel down and get on a ladder, so you're not reaching too high to do this, or you'll tend to you know, it'll tend to arc. And you see that you kind of have play. I mean, it stays wet, that you have play with it. You don't only have one shot to pull it. So these I call slubs, like they're called it with real fabric. I like these. But if you don't like them, you can just use your hand and wipe it off, or just keep, you know, just keep working it until they disappear. But I like some of those. Okay. All right. So I'm going to let this dry. Then we're going to take this tape off. This side would be done. I'll flip this tape over, and then we'll work on this side. Okay, so the side is dry, and I'm going to flip this tape over and do the other side. Again, this will be done in 2 passes, and I'm using this WAVERLY tool, okay? Now I'm applying this, obviously I'm applying this vertically, but if you want the horizontal look, you're going to have to apply it horizontally, right? Okay, so that's it. That's the first pass. I'm going to let this dry. I'm going to do a second pass. I have decided that you have to do a second pass. It may be tempting and you may love it the way it is, but it's so much better with the second pass. This will dry and flatten out just a little bit. The other thing about this is that you don't have to use just one color. You could use 2 different shades of blue, or 2 different shades of whatever, you know what I mean? To get kind of that variation in color. Something, you know, you can do some things like that with this, but basically this is what I do. And if I want to adjust it, I kind of dry brush over the top of it or tip it with, you know, maybe something a little lighter or whatever, just to distress it a little bit. But this one, I often will use more than just one color. Okay, so we're gonna let this dry and then we'll do a second coat. Okay, let's do the final pass on this second poster board, second sample. So depending on how thick the plaster is or product is that you're using, will determine how high a peaks this will hold, okay? So if you use something a little bit thinner, it's gonna flatten out. This is really holding up really nicely. Okay, so this is the second coat. It does shrink a little bit as it dries. So I will dry this out, and I then am going to add some photographs and some short videos of projects that I've done with both of these finishes. Okay, here they are. All done. Stay tuned for a short compilation of several projects that I've done with using these 2 techniques.